Hello, Paul Campanis here on May 26th, 2018. We're going to talk about water fasting today. Got some of our neighbors here, and you guys can ask questions. I know it's a little weird with YouTube going, but don't worry, we won't wheel the camera around on you. We started learning about water fasting back in October. We went to it was a retreat called The Truth About Cancer, and it was in Orlando, Florida. And some guy got up there and named Doug Group and started talking about water fasting. And Melanie and I got Dr. Edward Group, and started talking about water fasting. We got really interested in it. Melanie and I did. And Melanie had been doing it. Yeah, you had already been doing it for quite a while. And then I started. I sort of got the idea in my brain. You know how that is, you know, and you're around something for a long time, then all of a sudden you get the idea, well, hey, I can do this. And so that's really what happened, is I woke up to it. And I just found it really to be quite amazing. The talk that Dr. Group did was really inspiring. And then he's writing a book on it that's coming out next year. And he was going to go on an 18-day fast right afterwards. And he was recording every day he did on the fast he did on YouTube. And I had a lot of attempts, sort of aborted attempts on fasting, like in prior years, and it just didn't really go well. And I think that one of the reasons that it didn't go well is that I was very malnourished, that I had put on a lot of weight, and I just eating like food that wasn't very nutrient dense. So I think the idea of fasting was just like horrid. You know, it's just like, why would I deprive myself of food? I'm hungry all the time anyways. And so what I had been doing that was different is I had been eating a lot of really nutrient dense foods, like foods from the gardens, stuff like what's going on here with the watermelon and the fruits and the raw stuff, a lot of sprouts, and so I was physiologically a lot more satiated, a lot more satisfied. And I think that really made a big difference. And so when I would skip a meal, I wouldn't be like anxious and wigging out and like, honey, where's dinner? And I was just like, I was cool, you know, I was cool. If I didn't have food, you know, for another couple hours, I was fine. I was getting a lot more self-control, and I was getting a lot more confidence. And so I went along with Dr. Group on his fast. I was 2 days behind him, so each night I'd watch his video, and I actually got up to 2 weeks of fasting, and that for me was just amazing. But what happened, you know, there was a lot of other things happening spiritually and emotionally during the time. Just spiritually, I just felt like I was getting much better downloads and much more communication and sort of communion, and just creativity was just off the charts. And I was getting ideas, and I was moving things ahead. And I was sitting on the couch a lot because I was tired. You know, when you're fasting, you just don't have the energy that you usually have. But the brain was just like on supercharge, and so I'd just get to my desk, like put a seatbelt on, you know, just to stay in my chair, and I'd just get on the phone, and I would just be getting so much done because the ideas and the inspiration and everything was just so much better and so much different, and so I was just really impressed by that, and so some of the other things that you know, in the past that I just didn't really understand fasting. I thought I'd starve to death. You know, I thought I'd go hungry. I thought I'd pass out because your blood pressure gets really low. And so I just sort of got over those fears as Dr. Group was going through. He was testing his blood and checking his ketones and his glucose, and just sort of allaying my fears, you know, that I was going to just keel over and all that. And fasting is really amazing health-wise, because what happens is you have different organs in your body. You have organs of assimilation, like when you eat, you know, your stomach and your small intestine and everything starts pumping. You know, a lot of organs, they help you assimilate the food. You know, the heart moves the blood around, and that moves it to your muscles, but then you have organs of elimination, which are your kidneys, your liver, your skin, your colon. And so what happens when you stop eating is all those organs of assimilation, which are going all the time. Like for me, hey, how are you?
You want to sit up here?
Yeah, sit here. That's all right, don't worry. It's just you two. They're cool. This is Katrin, everyone. I'll give the introductions later. What happens is your organs of assimilation get a break. And for me, my organs of assimilation were working really hard because metabolically I was really hungry. So always going back and forth to the fridge, always going out to eat. I mean, I was just constantly putting things in my mouth and never feeling satisfied. So those organs of assimilation were just like, they were just like burning out. Like if they were tires on a car, they'd be like the retreads flying off and just, and I was just really run down, and I didn't look like I was, what's the word? I just looked sort of haggard would be the word. And so what happens is you give them a rest. And so what then begins to happen is your organs of elimination can wake up. Okay, and when they wake up, they can sort of take out the trash. So when you eat food, like even if you eat really good food, there's the good part of the food, and then there's the food byproducts that we call like toxins. I hear people say, I'm full of toxins, I need to detox. What they're really talking about is that those food byproducts need to be ushered out of the body, and there's a process for that. But those processes need to be given the adequate bandwidth that they need to be able to do that. And so if your organs of assimilation aren't working, then your body can focus on taking out the trash, basically. And so what happens is I drink a lot of water. When I fast, I sip water and just take a sip. Not drink too much, because in the hunger you can drink too much and then you start to feel something else. You can have too much. And so I just sip it, and that sort of satisfies everything, and just go throughout the day sipping it. But and so what happens is, of course you have to urinate a lot, and that brings out a lot of the food byproducts, and it's just a lot of this on the couch, and then going to the bathroom and back to the couch, and then back to the desk, and then back to the computer, and reading. It's a great time to absorb because your brain is really switched on. But those organs of elimination, when they turn on, you get what's called a Herxheimer reaction, which is, and it's sort of abbreviated herxing. And so you start to feel like you have the flu. And then that can get worse, or it can get better and better. It just depends how much your body's taking out the trash. And so sometimes you abort the fast when you just have a Herxheimer reaction, you feel really bad, you abort the fast and just wait till the next one, and that's great. Or sometimes you push through, and that's all that. And the flu is sort of similar to fasting, because the flu-like symptoms, your body has to get rid of a lot of stuff. It has to eliminate. So when you have the flu, you stop eating, and you feel those symptoms. You have to mellow out and sit on the couch. There's a lot of similarities here, and so all that toxicity just works its way out, and your body will start to metabolize like scar tissue and all these other things in the body, like inferior cells that aren't like tumor cells, and scar tissue, and just things that it doesn't need. It'll say, hey, well, we don't really need these cells hanging around in here anymore, and they're not real healthy. Let's go eat them and munch them down and use them as food and protein or whatever. And so the elimination process is really amazing. And you come through the fast, and you end the fast, and you just feel better. And then you do more fast, and you feel better. Now, a fast can be, starting out, you can just start with like baby steps, like just skip a meal, like say it's 11:30, say maybe I haven't eaten breakfast yet. That could be like a fast, or just postponing breakfast, or skipping lunch. There's all sorts of ways that people do it, and they're all good. But you're just giving your organs of elimination a chance to wake up and take out the trash. And you know what it's like? It's like keeping your room clean, or keeping my office clean. The mail comes in, and you put it on the desk, and you just keep doing that, and the dog comes through and does her thing, and the kids come through, and my wife says, hey, honey, take your stuff and put it in your office. And then all of a sudden that office and the desk is just piled with junk. You're just periodically just taking it out. So you can do a lot of little fasts, you can do a big fast. And one of the real keys to success is to clear out all the schedule. And it's almost like a vacation. It's almost like a rest for your body. And so you got to look at it that way. And so if you have like a lot of meetings and a lot of things to do, like a lot of manual labor, that's bad. You don't want to do that right on the front end of fast. You want to really clear out your schedule, and so you have the bandwidth to really be creative, to really sort of rejuvenate. It's hard to explain, but you really got to clear out the schedule and clear out the stress and the busyness. So like a Labor Day weekend is a great time to do it, because unless you're going to parties and barbecues. But I find that even when I go to them, people eat and then they start talking. No one really notices that I haven't eaten the steak or the barbecue or the whatever it is. It's there. They don't really notice. They just talk. They just want to talk and hang out. And I just sort of hang over on the other side where the food isn't. And I'm not like a buzzkill at the party. If if I'm fasting and I go to a party, I'm actually full of energy and full of life. And usually my brain is going really good. So I'm usually a lot better at conversation than when I'm eating a lot. When I eat a lot, I tend to get lethargic and sort of want to lay on the couch and get on my charger, as I call it. But when I fast, I can be really sociable, and that can work well for a while. And then sometimes I have to go and sit down because the blood pressure starts to lower. But those are just some ways to deal with it. So it's clear out your schedule, be real nourished, before you go into the fast. A raw food diet, like a week or two before, is good if you're going to do a big fast. And then drink the water, sip the water, and then if you have health problems, you got to go to your doctor and do all that. It's not for everyone to go kamikaze on a fast. Some people just can't do it, and they shouldn't do it because they're sick. But there are a lot of things online and in the medical journals about how healthy it is. The Russians, they have sort of a different healthcare system than we do. Theirs isn't based on profit because it's more nationalized there, because it's a communist country. And so they've done a lot of really great studies on fasting. In the U.S., they don't really do studies on fasting because there's no intellectual property to be gained from it. There's no new drug they're going to patent and make billions of dollars off. So no one in the U.S. is really interested in fasting. And it talks about it a lot in the Bible, but in the churches, people aren't really into fasting because they're malnourished. And so that's sort of like a lost art, spiritually. But the Russians, they've done all of these studies on fasting, and they've seen amazing results as far as curing diseases. It's extremely curative. I noticed a lot of things in my body just clearing up and going away, like things like eczema, weight. A lot of people fast to lose weight, and it works. It's really a great way to do it. We have a lot of eating disorders in this country, so there's got to be a lot of caution there, and of course work with if you're prone to eating disorders, then this probably isn't a good thing for you to do. If you're a teenager, probably not in your especially body image problems, then this is something to really get help with from a doctor or your parents or something. But it's a great way to lose weight and to get in shape. And I'm in bed, like about a year and a half ago, I hurt my knee, and so I can't run. But running was always the thing I would do to keep the weight off. So I eat a lot of bad food, like not bad food, but not nutritious food, not nutrient-dense food. I gain weight, and then I go run, and I just do this back and forth. And so it was a lot of activity and a lot of exhaustion, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. I was a good runner, but and I could just, my poor heart was probably just getting more and more bunged up with plaque. But I'm in probably the best shape now that I've been in probably 30 years, and I can't run. I got this knee thing going on, and I'm getting it looked at. I ripped a tendon playing soccer, I think, a year and a half ago, and but I'm in really great shape for me. I mean, you might look at me and go, he doesn't look that good, but that's cool. It's not about. It's always about, you're always sort of racing with yourself. It's always about being the best version of you, as they say. And so, but I know I'm in better shape than I've been in a long time. That feels really good. That's really encouraging, especially at age 56. And I'm, I go to the gym once a week. I don't really work out that much anymore. And I used to work out all the time. It's just sort of this treadmill of life. It was literally a treadmill where I eat a lot, exercise a lot, eat a lot, exercise a lot. Now I have so much more time. And the great thing about fasting is it's so cost effective, you know. It's not expensive. You know, all you got to do is have water. And, you know, I have a well and I have good water. You might have to buy bottled water, so, but you have to drink anyways. So it's really like, if you know people, or if you're one of these people, you're broke, you're down, you're sick, you know, this could be something that could really help you. To sort of get out of that funk and to sort of get out of that lifestyle or out of that predicament, and it's affordable because you tell people, okay, you know, go to this clinic and get well, and they say, well, I don't have the 10 grand to, you know, go to Hippocrates Institute or one of these great, you know, places, and you know, but this is free. I mean, it's just so free because you don't have to go grocery shopping, and so that's one of the really encouraging things about it. And I've got lots more stuff here I could talk about, but I'll take any questions, and then if there's any questions, and then if no, we'll stop the camera, and then we can go. We're going to go out and look at the garden, and look at my pawpaw trees and my fruit trees and whatever else you want to see. If anyone wants to get any lettuce or greens, I have tons of that, and then I have some seeds. If anyone wants some seeds to take with you to plant in your own home gardens, and you can do that. And we have compost and mulch outside if anyone's interested in that. So, any questions?
What was your favorite way to fast? Did you do just long standing?
Yeah. Okay, it's a good question. Yeah. Okay. At first, what I was doing was just not eating breakfast till like 10 or 11, and then that was going really well. And you get to be my age, but a lot of people my age only eat one meal a day, anyways. Yeah. So then I went to intermittent fasting, where I just eat between 2 and 4, and I did that for like a year, and that went really well, and I felt really good, and that was a couple of years ago. And now what I do is I pretty much eat just from like an afternoon, evening meal, like a dinner meal, and I use Chronometer, which is a website, and because I have to decrease the quantity of food and increase the quality of the food. And Chronometer is free. You get on there and you put in what you eat, and it tells you all the nutrient breakdown in the food. And so I use and I try to keep it to around 2,000 calories in that afternoon meal. And then I'm fine. And then as soon as I finish the meal, I start drinking the water again. And that now my body is trained. When I drink the water, it says, all right, ain't no more food coming, and you're gonna have to survive, dude, on what you've just eaten. And I'm a compulsive eater. I'm really bad. I'm a really bad compulsive eater. And I eat when I'm bored, and I get bored quickly because I have a very active mind. And I drove my parents and my school teachers crazy. I really did. But so there's intermittent fasting, and then you can, if you can clear out your schedule a little bit, you can do like a 1, 2, 3 day fast. But what happens when you first start out is you're most toxic, and so you do a fast and you're like, whoa, you hit this wall, and it's just like, wow, I feel awful, really bad. And then, and you're bored. And then the trick is to just keep going back, because it's like shoveling out the closet, that closet that's full of stuff. When you open the door, it all falls out. And so what happens, the closet gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And then, all of a sudden, everything's just perfect. Little coats hanging there, the umbrellas in the corner, and everything looks perfect. Well, your body's like that. And so you start cleaning it out, and then you can tolerate it a lot more. So now, like if I were to, fast for a day, it'd be no problem at all. I mean, I actually feel better. It's the boredom is tough though, because when I'm bored, I eat. I do the same. So I have to find activities, things to keep my mind going. So, but I have things I can do. It's just a matter of turning that on and saying, Paul, you go to your office, don't go to the kitchen. Have to sort of the self-talk, and do that. So. Yeah.
Have you had success when coming off of maybe a longer, a full day, or maybe even multiple days? Have you had success with or failures with particular foods that you do eat when you come back on?
Yeah, definitely. Good, really great question, Chris. So what you do when you stop fasting, I think what happens is all your gut flora dies, and so when you eat food, it's not the hydrochloric acid that breaks it down and puts it in your bloodstream and everything. It is the organisms in your gut that chew on it and break it down. I know that's gross, but there's all these organisms in there that do that. And that's the way it's always worked and the way it's always going to work. And and so those organisms tend to die back. But the great thing is there are different organisms that like different things. So like if you're a real steak and potatoes guy, you'll have steak and potato organisms in there. If you're a raw vegan, you'll have raw vegan organisms in there. And so it's a symbiotic relationship. So when you break a fast, you have an opportunity to reintroduce new gut flora into your gut. And so what the first thing I do now, and I had to learn this the hard way. I had some real botch ups. And you can die, if you go on a long fast and then you binge eat, you can die. I mean, there are people that die doing that. It's dangerous. But what I do is I go out to the garden, and this is sort of the zen, in the garden, this juju that I get in my garden. Usually I try to go barefoot, and I get out in the garden and I start eating dark green leafy vegetables. The best foods to eat are, nutrition-wise. And I have a list on my fridge. It's called the Andy list, that little colored list on the right. And that ranks all the foods in their nutritional order. So if you are sort of like wondering if a Twinkie is really good quality or Coca-Cola is really good nutrition dense food, because in these moments of weakness you start to compromise and you start to rationalize. And so Dr. Joel Fuhrman, he produces this list. It's on the fridge, and on the top of there is all the dark green leafy vegetables. And one of the things I learned about this, recently, is that when you go to the supermarket and you buy kale, it's been sterilized, either by gas or by like a hydrogen peroxide bath, or in these different means of sterilizing, and that increases the shelf life. And you want the bugs on the food. I'm calling them bugs, but they're organisms. And they feed your microbiome and your gut flora. So the reason I do well in the garden is I'm getting all these critters on the leaves. So all these bacteria, fungi, molds, all the stuff that grows on the leaves of the plant, they are what help it to feed your microbiome. So when we eat food, we think of vitamins and minerals, but we got to stop that thinking. You got to think of vitamins, minerals, and enzymes and critters. Critters being the gut flora and the microbiome. Okay, so the fungi and the bacteria. So we need those enzymes and those critters. So like when I pick lettuce out of my garden, it wilts in like 5 minutes, and that's because it's got a lot of critters on the leaves, and so that's what you need. So you have the opportunity when you break the fast to reseed the microbiome. And so that's why I go to the garden when I do it. And that's what's worked well for me. Now, Melanie has a totally different methodology. When she breaks a fast, she'll tend to go for watermelon or fruit, which is, works really well. A lot of people just do different things. But I'm really partial to my garden and my dark green leafy vegetables. And so what happens is, when I was younger, I was a chronic cereal eater. I'd pour a bowl of cereal, milk, cereal, and eat it. And I did that every day, 4 or 5 bowls. And so I could have a wonderful 6-course meal and be full, and I'd come home and I'd want a bowl of cereal. And because the microbiome in my gut, it would trigger those cravings. And so now, I went to a raw food retreat and they had all this really wonderful raw food, but I wasn't getting any kale. So I went into my room and I had a bag of kale there. And everyone was out there talking, being social, and I was like the binge drinker, go out of the church meeting and go drink my whiskey, and then go back in. So I went into my room and I started eating my kale, and I started shoving it down because I wanted to go back out and be social again. And I was having some great conversation, but I had to have this kale, so I started binge eating the kale, and I thought to myself, wow, okay, I've really changed over. My metabolism really craves the kale. And so that was sort of a breakthrough. Yeah, well, it's better than, the cereal, which is GMO now, too, so, yeah. Any more?
And how often and how long do you fast for usually? Or is it every 2 weeks, every month?
Well, a lot of times we'll go through periods of, and the rule is there are no rules. Because as soon as you put the rules on, it becomes just like slave labor and a drudgery. So a lot of weeks I'll do a Monday fast. And Melanie and I are doing Monday fast now, and that's going really well. I mean, it's great when you do it together, up until a point. When you're both for a 1 day fast, it's great when we're doing it together. But if it's a 1 week fast and no one has any energy, that's kind of a bummer because, someone has to. Well, you don't have to do the dishes, but there might be something that has to be done around the house, or someone might come to the door and it's like, honey, you get it, or you get it, and so. I do a lot of 1 day, 2 day fasts. I do a lot of 2 day fasts, and Melanie does a lot of 1 day fasts. And Melanie just came off a 4-day fast, and I came off like a 4-day fast like last week. So the Spirit sort of moves you to do it. You kind of you get tuned into this, and your body says, well, hey, it used to be about losing the weight, but it's not really about that anymore because the weight's pretty much gone. So now it's more about what feels better, to eat or not to eat. I know that seems strange because food is a real pleasure sensation. We have a lot of really addictive foods. When you eat processed boxed foods, they're highly addictive. But when you get off of those,
Deliberately so.
and deliberately so, because that's how they make. Pardon?
To sell more.
To sell more, yeah, to get the reoccurring revenue that these food companies make. But now it's more like I think I'd feel better and do better today if I didn't eat, and so it becomes more that kind of a trade-off than if I did eat. Yeah, and a lot of it depends on the demands of the day. Like if I have a week and I know this week is going to be really difficult, and I'm dealing with difficult people. That's sort of what throws you off your horse fasting, is dealing with aggravation, people that aggravate, and situations that cause stress and aggravation. And that's when fasting gets tough. That's when you get the fear comes in and you feel like I need my food because I need my strength because I've got to go kick this situation around over here. And that's when it gets tough. Yeah. So
I attempted the water fast twice. I made it both times to about like 4 o'clock or so.
Yep.
And it's mostly like when I'm hungry, or, I don't get hungry, I get dizzy and almost black out.
Yeah,
Like my blood sugar drops.
Yep.
And both days I had to like drive all the way to like
Yep.
McKay's, and I
Yep.
thought I'm not gonna make
Yep,
it.
that's right.
So I had to eat something.
Yeah, and see what's great though is if you can get like a vacation, like you set it up in advance, and you get someone else. You say, all right, you say to your husband, all right, I need you to do this on this day because that would likely throw me off. And then you say to your son, I'd like you to do this on this day, and you say to your dog, not this week, I did it last week. And you get everyone sort of online, so they're all playing their parts. And what happens is that you can sort of ride those, you get more confidence and you can ride those situations out. And if you bump up against something like that, it's okay. You just go back and have your whatever it is you need to get through that and get through it. But it's great when you can clear your schedule out and get a little further down. But getting to 4 o'clock
I
is
thought my schedule was clear, and then stuff happens.
someone throws something on you. Yeah, that's what. And of course, when you fast, it all comes at you. Someone comes in with cookies and puts them on the table. And your late Christmas present of the box of chocolates comes in, and all the universe sort of it can really work against you. But when you do break your fast, go to the food that you really need to go to most often. For me, it's the dark green leafy vegetables like the kales. So like I'll wait till 4 o'clock sometimes, and then I'll just it's all the greens, and I'll eat a pound or two of greens. I'll eat a lot of it raw, and then I'll put it in the blender with a couple of bananas and just greens, because that's where you're going to get the nutrition. And our soils are very depleted, so it's not what it used to be 50 and 100 years ago. The soils are very depleted, so you can eat a lot of really good food and not be getting what you need. And I think that's why so many people are going to raw vegan type diets, is because of the raw food. They just get more nutrients. I think that's one of the reasons. So you guys, if you want to ask questions, you can. If you don't want to be in camera, I'm not going to point the camera at you. But anyone else have any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So you say you use water throughout the day, but I have found sometimes I can use like green tea or something
Yep.
with no sugar. Is that acceptable to kind of do something like that? It's not, and I don't use sugar in it. I just find that, I don't know if it's the taste or maybe it's a little bit of caffeine that kind of maybe, because caffeine doesn't make me flip out. It'll make me concentrate, so I can concentrate. Not too much. I don't want to have too much, but it'll make me concentrate. And if I guess if I sip it, which I'll sip it throughout the day, I find that I also don't get as hungry. It kind of helps me stop eating.
Yeah.
Like if I need to go longer, especially if I'm like sitting there working on something. Sometimes if I just have green tea there, and I can skip over things or go much later or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean later at night, but just longer.
Yeah. I've done quite a lot of those kind of fasts. When I was actually building up my intermittent fasting, because what I did is I built it up, and then it keeps on building too. Your ability to intermittent fast. What I would do, and I was under a lot of stress. I had a sick family member I was taking care of, and I was really stressed out, and I was using a lot of used really diluted coffee and really diluted green tea, and just make it through the day, and then eat around 3 or 4, and I did that for a long time, maybe like 9 months, and what I found is I sort of got to the end of that chapter, and then I found that it was a lot easier for me just to do the water, because I don't know why, but for me it was easier to do the water than the caffeine. I found that when I did the caffeine and even some just like herbal teas that didn't have caffeine in them, that it would switch on the organs of assimilation, and when they rest, I would get more metabolic rest. So I did that for a long time, and a lot of people will do that their whole lives and do really well that way. The rule is there are no rules. Whatever's working for you, where you're at. But what I found, though, is that when I could really shut off the organs of assimilation, it was a lot easier for me. So it's easier for me. Oh, and also, I got real sensitive to the caffeine. As I started cleaning out my body, the caffeine would just get me wired. I mean, I was a guy that would, drink a pot of coffee, every morning. I was like caffeine intolerant. But when I started really cleaning out my diet, my whole body got really sensitive. So, I'd be up for like days. I mean, I'd just be buzzing off of just a small amount of caffeine. And so that's also sort of a dynamic that led me to the water. But yeah, it's a great question. But it's good for people that are just starting on the road to do some coffee, tea fast, green tea, or coffee.
About stem cell.
Oh no,
generation?
yeah, you want to talk about that?
Okay, so when I'm not sure if you're doing the green tea, whether that would actually, because after the sort of day 3 and you're on day 4 kind of time, apparently is when the stem cell regeneration starts happening, which is amazing because people going to clinics and paying thousands of dollars for this kind of therapy, where your body will actually generate its own if you water fast. And so if you're doing caffeine drinks, I'm not sure.
I don't do anything that generally doesn't have caffeine, with the exception of tea and coffee, and I don't tend to have it later in the day. I kind of lay off of it for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, but I have I do run. So Paul was talking about running, and I tend to run every other day. So if I do not eat, and I try to run, I have to eat some sort of something when I run. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be something because it'll deplete me. Another thing with running that I find with running is it's not just the physical part of running physically with my body. It mentally clears me out a little bit because I don't run on a treadmill. Like you were talking about running on a treadmill, I have to go outside. I don't care if it's 20 degrees or it's 90 degrees. I just have to go outside, and I think that's the thing with me. Going outside and doing that just kind of helps me clear my mind, and so I have to do. So it'd be very difficult for me to do any more than 24 hours because running is one of those things that really clears my mind out too. I find.
I've gone on fast before, and I've done the full day fast. But when I really noticed the effects of clearing my mind happened the second day. I could not eat anything the first day, just go water or juice fast, and then the second day all of a sudden my brain just
I know, it's
this.
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's totally amazing.
Yeah, it's unlike anything else I've ever come across. I mean, when I started my vegan diet too, that helped to clear everything, but going on the fast.
Yeah, what I noticed about it too, talking about your mind, is that there are a lot of situations that sort of get stuck and stagnant in my life, like things that have sat on my desk for a year. And I just don't have sort of the mental fortitude to just blow it out and just deal with the situation, call the person and have the conversation that I need to have. And all those things sort of get unstuck, and all the the rusty gears start to turn. And so I end up clearing out all the things on my to-do list, and it's amazing. So you look back and I've been on the couch the whole time. How did all this happen? And then all these things are just all these situations have moved along. All these procrastination situations. But another thing along the lines of what Melanie was saying was testosterone. Your testosterone goes way up when you fast, which for guys my age is a good thing. And people pay a lot of money. I mean, you drive down to Maryland Farms, there's the low T clinic there. All the guys getting the whatever they get, and that's carcinogenic. I mean, they know that testosterone, and a lot of guys my age will get testosterone because the doctor will give it to me if I ask him for it. I say, yeah, I'm feeling a little sluggish. Oh yeah, here you go, pump you up, you know. and and it would feel good. I'd get really muscly, and I'd probably have lots of rage. But so what? If I kick my dog and yell at my wife, so what? But no, that's bad. But you don't have that sort of side effect of the roidal rage. Now people, it's easy. You can get. You ever heard of the expression hangry, hungry and angry? You got to watch that. That can sort of creep in there. People are just bugging you when you're trying to fast. You got to be careful. You do. And I've done that before. I've gone off on a few of those, and thankfully for my family being patient with that. But I was doing that anyway, so it wasn't. Try not to. But yeah. So the testosterone, the stem cells, and a lot of people say that it cures diseases. A lot of people out there saying it cures cancer. And there are a lot of fasting clinics like True North, and I think it's in California, where you go and you fast and you go on like a vacation fasting, and you get these little treatments with hot rocks and massages and all this stuff. And that'd be wonderful. I'm not going to go. I haven't done that yet, but I'll let you know how it is if I ever go. But that would be really great because you sort of just check yourself in, and there's not like all these like people baking cookies and brownies in there, and all going up in the air, and so there's all these fasting clinics, and that's a great way to do it if you're sort of like medically challenged. So, yeah.
Did you mention books?
Oh yeah, a lot of great books. We'll wheel them out here. There's the Paul Bragg's book on this is the guy that does the apple cider vinegar. All his products are in the supermarkets.
He has a book called The Miracle of Fasting, and that's really what got me started because I wasn't really. I don't even know why. I bought the book I think because I was listening to the Life Regenerator on YouTube, and he mentioned a few books. So I got that one, and I really wasn't excited about the idea of fasting, but I started reading it, and then I was like, I can't wait to start this. I can't wait to try this, because like if the benefits of fasting are true, then I want that. So then I started like doing, like their protocol is like once a week, 1 day a week, and then every quarter you fast for like 3 days, like as a sort of base. But really, that's just what they term a short fast, which is like overwhelming to me. So I was like, a day to 3 days is like a lot for me. But
One meal is a lot
yeah.
for me.
But then, so the longest I've ever gone is 6 days, which is after we went to the Truth About Cancer conference. And I think part of my problem was like towards the end of the week, I was really having trouble sipping the water. It was just really kind of making me want to gag. I know that, like we thought maybe it was because we're on well water here, and we have a procedure that we go through to kind of get the sulfury smell out of it. And it wasn't really sulfury smell. I don't know what it was, but I was thinking maybe I should have done distilled water instead. So the next time I do a longer fast, I'll probably try that and see if that would help. But by day 6, I was just very weak, and I just couldn't keep the water down. And then, or get the water down rather, and then I had a couple of days coming up where I knew I was going to be very stressed. Well, not super stressed. I mean, just life things were happening where I really needed to be on point, and so I broke the fast after 6 days. But then he went on another week, so.
Yeah, and that was just unprecedented for me. I've been a fasting failure. But another great book is Arnold Ehret. Called Rational Fasting. That was written about 100 years ago. He's amazing. And then there's a more of a Christian book by Derek Prince, D-E-R-E-K Prince, and he has a little book on fasting. It's very inspiring. And then the Bible also is an amazing book on fasting. Isaiah 58 is a chapter in the Old Testament that talks about fasting, and that really helped me. And what that talks about is it talks about how fasting is healing in verse 8, but the rest of the chapter talks about the sort of the mental energy that goes on when you fast. So mental energy is very important. And what it talks about is helping the poor in that chapter. So what I did when I was fasting, and what I do, is I'll go to my desk and write checks. I'll be laying down on the couch thinking, you haven't been a really nice person lately, and maybe you should do something good for somebody once in your life. You just sit here with all your toys, and I started thinking about helping other people, which is good. I usually think about helping myself and my family. It's really about me, my life. But I started thinking about, I'm going to write this person a check, or this single mom over here, she's really struggling. I haven't really lifted a finger, and I'll start writing checks. And they're not big checks, but they hurt a little bit. And I just write checks and I say, honey, give this to someone, so give this to someone. So I say to my son, oh, I mail these out today. But giving to the poor is an amazing way to get good energy. I don't know how else to explain it, but it works. And you start doing that, and that's what the Isaiah 58 talks about, is helping the poor. And so I found when I did that, it was just the energy that came back to me was amazing. So that's another really good book. And then what are the books? Arnold Ehret, Paul Bragg, Derek Prince. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Edward Group is going to be coming out with
He's
the
coming out with a book next year, and he has his videos online. If you go to his YouTube channel, he has 18 days of, where he gets up there and goes, all right, I'm on day 4, I feel like horrible, my blood pressure's like, and I got a headache, and so you can really relate to, and he's really a great guy, and he really inspired me. And
So it's encouraging if you're doing a longer fast, to kind of tap into that, because even though he's not
along with
necessarily...
you suffer along with him. So we would
Someone else
watch
knows
that
how you
every
feel.
night. We'd watch that up, and then day 14, I said, I think it's time. I need to get some stuff done here. But inspiration is important because it's a mind game. Your brain plays tricks on you, and that's a lot of what life is. Your brain playing tricks on you, and getting you in situations because of cravings and stuff. But you can just totally eliminate the power of these cravings, and that's a really glorious thing. It really is, especially like me. If you've been a slave to your food cravings for like your whole life, which is what I was, then it's really glorious to shut off and destroy the power of those cravings. So, but the mental energy and the inspiration, you have to when you're fasting, you've got to like have books to read and have inspiration on tap, like really good videos, and that you really got to feed your mind really positive and rejuvenating thoughts. So, cool. Any other questions? Okay.
Some lettuce.
Yeah. We'll get on to the rest of the stuff now. I know it's interested. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for coming, everyone, and we'll wind it up there.